everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel, and this is the delayed ratings show from the United 6-2 victory against Roma in the Europa League Semi Final at Old Trafford, which was played on Thursday. I'm recording this show late Tuesday afternoon or early Tuesday evening. The main reason I'm so late is that I did boycott social media for the long bank holiday weekend, in line with the FA and the football clubs that did the same thing, you know, in the fight against bullying, cyberbullying on social media, cyberbullying as they call it. So I joined in with that, as I've said on a couple of other shows. So that's the reason why it's so late. I have said though on the show that I did this morning that I would still do this ratings show, even though it's a good few days after the game. So I'll go through those ratings very shortly. Little bit of news before I do go through those ratings from the Roma game. It's Champions League Semi Final night tonight. City are at home to PSG, and they beat PSG 2-1 in the away leg. And there's news seeping through really that it looks like Kylian Mbappe might not be fit to start the game. PSG, it'll be a big blow if Mbappe can't play. They've 2-1 down from the first leg. They've got to score at least twice tonight to have any chance, so that'll seriously damage their chances. Even if they win 1-0 tonight, they'd go out on away goal, so they've got to score twice, whatever happens. So I don't think that'll, the chances will be seriously damaged anyway if Mbappe can't start. By the time this show goes up, I'm recording it, like I say, late Tuesday afternoon, early Tuesday evening. By the time it actually goes up on YouTube, that game will probably be underway. It might even be over by the time it goes up on YouTube. We'll see how soon I can get that done. I don't know how to do it myself. I have to get somebody to do it for me. So we'll see how that goes. So Mbappe, it looks like he might be missing. Tomorrow night, of course, it's Chelsea against Real Madrid. That one's more in the balance. Chelsea got a good result though, 1-1 draw away in Madrid. So there's a decent chance of an all-English final. Not that I'm hoping for necessarily an all-English final, but I do think there's a decent chance of that happening this time around. On the United side of things, great news. Anthony Martial is back in training, which has amazed me. They've been saying, for the last couple of weeks that he's out for the season. He's back in training. He won't be fit, obviously, for Thursday night against Roma. He won't be fit for Villa. But according to Sky News, they've said that he's going to be fit for the rest of the games this season after the Villa game come this Sunday. So there's 4 league games and obviously almost certainly a Europa League final to play. So over the moon, Anthony Martial's one of my favourite players. Anybody who knows, who watches me regularly will know that. So I'm pleased for United. I'm also really pleased for Anthony Martial that he's fit to compete for United in the last few games, compete for his place as well. And also, I do think there's a good chance he'll get, if he remains fit now, that he'll be in the French squad for the European Championships, which I'm sure he'd love to have on his CV. I don't think he's played at a World Cup before or at a European Championship. So good luck to Anthony Martial, and I hope he can get plenty of game time between now and the end of the season. So to the ratings from that Roma game, from the Manchester Evening News, David De Gea, they've said he conceded his 21st consecutive successive penalty, and positioning for Edin Dzeko's goal was suspect. Had little goalmouth action otherwise, and they've given him a 6. A 6 is a decent game. I think he had a decent game. Can't be expected to save a penalty. Each and every penalty is obviously a single solitary penalty. So every time you face a penalty, the person who's taking it has got the upper hand on you without a doubt. So when you take each one individually, you are up against it. But for them to note that he's conceded 24 in a row, it really is a long run. You would expect a top-class keeper to save at least 1 out of 21. So that isn't a very good run. But like I say, on this is a single penalty though. Each and every time you've got to look at it fresh, it's a penalty. So I don't think you can criticise him for letting a penalty in. And I'm not convinced that his positioning was suspect for the goal either. But they've given him a 6. We have let 2 in, and I think a decent game is fine. So I'd agree with that. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, they've said it boggled the mind why he did not get back into position to plug the gap when Mkhitaryan found space for Roma's second goal. Not troubled in the second half, they've said. They've given him a 6, which is a decent game. I would agree with the 6. On that thing about Mkhitaryan, I didn't notice it myself watching it live, or when I watched it the second time. You know, most people watching will know that I always watch it a second time before doing these ratings, and I didn't even notice it. Well, you know, I didn't realise he wasn't in position. So I rewound it deliberately because they've said that, and I've looked at it. He'd just been on an overlap, Wan-Bissaka, and at one point he was our furthest forward player. So he had a long way to get back, and there were a lot of players goal side. I'm not, you know, it's difficult to say whether this is right or wrong, but because he's, you know, you do want your full-backs getting forward. So when they do get forward, it's a little bit difficult criticising them for not being back when the opposition break. Obviously, you've got to get back as quick as you can. But then when you are getting back as quick as you can, if somebody fills in your space, a midfield player, that leaves a little bit more space in midfield. And Wan-Bissaka did take a man who was in midfield. And if you watch it back, that goal, you know, all of these players are in positions, better positions than Wan-Bissaka to try and block Mkhitaryan, try and prevent him from receiving the ball, to prevent him from passing it. Lindelof's in position who's trying to stop the man who gives it to Mkhitaryan. McTominay is between Mkhitaryan and a goal. Fred's between him and a goal. Pogba's not far away from him. You know, there's a lot of players around in that area. So I'm going to give Wan-Bissaka a little bit of leeway. I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway. Of course, obviously, you've got to get back as quick as you can. But if you've got 4 or 5 of your teammates in a particular area, I can understand you not thinking, well, do I need to be in that area? Maybe they're going to pop it back out here. And he's stopped in midfield, Wan-Bissaka, and he is, you know, in front of another player. So it really is a tricky one. It's easy in hindsight saying, of course, if there was yet another man behind the ball, then we might have stopped Mkhitaryan passing it. That's easy in hindsight. But watching it back, if you watch it and try and assume that it's live, it looks like there's enough players there to deal with it. And maybe Wan-Bissaka, you know, didn't need to get back into position. So, you know, maybe it's a little bit harsh, let's put it that way. Victor Lindelof, drawn out of United's back line, and Roma capitalised to go 2-1 ahead. Isolated a few times, but kept Dzeko reasonably quiet before and after the goal. I think that's a fair shout. They've given him a 6, which is a decent game. I think that's fair enough on Victor Lindelof, a 6. Harry Maguire failed to cover the near post. I've looked back at this as well. I thought that looks a bit harsh, and I've looked at it back, and it's very harsh. You do want it's a funny one. If we remember back to the Sevilla game, funnily enough, Europa League game, when the ball went over Lindelof's head, I said at the time, you need players to get to the near post. You want to try and block the ball from coming across the near post. So sometimes it goes across the near post, but sometimes you can cut it out by being at the near post. And if it goes wrong, they're always saying, oh, you shouldn't have been there. Like I say, it's easy in hindsight. Of course he shouldn't have been there. It'd be better if he was further back. In Lindelof's case against Sevilla, it would have been better if he was further back because it went over his head. And in Maguire's case the other night, it'd have been better if he was near the post because he couldn't reach it and he was in front of his goal. This particular one, it happened so quickly. You know, the ball gets fed in behind. They're trying to keep a line. It's not Maguire that's playing him onside. It's Luke Shaw further back that's playing him onside. Once it goes through from Mkhitaryan, Maguire's positional, his position is that he's directly in centre of the goal. He can't really get to the near post because he'd be running at an angle. You know, your quickest line towards your own goal is what you would normally take. So he's running in a direct line towards his goal to try and block that cross. I don't think he could get to his near post. So I think they're being particularly harsh. Failed to cover the near post. No, I'm not having it. Wrong. And it's, you know, it's fired into Dzeko and it's difficult to cut out. If Maguire would have got a boot to it, he'd have diverted it into his own goal anyway. That's my opinion. But they've given him a 6, again, which is a decent game. I wouldn't disagree too much with that. I would give him a 6. Luke Shaw caught on his heels when Dzeko got in ahead of him. but was a key cog in United's attacks down the left, as he always is. They've given him a 7. A 7 is just a good game, so I think I can agree with that with Luke Shaw, a 7. Scott McTominay, there's quite a few 4 sixes and a 7 so far in a game that we've won 6-2. There's got to be some good marks coming up, surely. Retaining McTominay and Fred was logical, but McTominay's subdued spell continued. I didn't know he was having a subdued spell. Gave United a better platform in the second half, and they've given him a 6, which is a decent game. I'm going to say Scott McTominay played quite well overall, so I'm going to give Scott McTominay a 7. And I'm going to speak about what the commentator said once I've read the Fred one out, because they spoke a lot about him. Fred lost the ball for the move that resulted in Roma's penalty and caught ball watching when Mkhitaryan split the defence. That's the goal that I've looked back at and studied it, so I've looked at it on that as well. I'm not so sure Fred deserves any more criticism really for that, for ball watching. There's enough players around. He's in a position that's preventing the ball being played across the box, and it's a clever ball by Mkhitaryan that's put somebody in behind. I think it's a little bit harsh criticising Fred on, he's not my favourite player, Fred. Most people know that, but I think that's a bit harsh. And I'll give him a 7. I'll say he had a decent game, Fred, a good game in fact. So yeah, I'll give him a 7. There was in commentary, Robbie Savage in the first half, and Paul Scholes said it at half time, and I think it was Scholes and Hargreaves that were on. Yeah, it was Scholes and Hargreaves. But Robbie Savage in particular, if he said it once, he must have said it 3 times, that at half time the manager needs to get either McTominay or Fred off. He needs to get Pogba into the middle, and then he needs to get Rashford on the left and bring Greenwood on the right. He doesn't get it. He really doesn't get it. The 2 players in the middle of the field are more warrior-like, if you like. They're there to win the ball, to stamp their authority on the game, and to give the ball to the players who can play. And there's enough players in that team. Rashford's not my favourite, obviously, but everybody else would say he's a player who can play. You've got Rashford, you've got Cavani, you've got Bruno Fernandes, you've got Paul Pogba. There's enough players there who can play. You need the 2 players in the middle who can win it, who can get stuck in, who can defend properly, and then also when they do win the ball, can give the ball to those players who can play. And I think, well, certainly Ollie didn't think like they thought, and he didn't make the substitution at half time that they were suggesting, and United banged 5 goals in the second half. So I don't agree with Robbie Savage, and like I say, he must have said it 3 or 4 times during commentary. Marcus Rashford loitered with intent and looked to spin off the removed Spinazzola. Never truly got into any rhythm though, and they've given him a 5, which is an average game. I've watched the game again. I think Marcus Rashford had a poor game. I'm not saying he was absolutely shocking, but he was pretty poor, and I'm giving Marcus Rashford a 4. I know we won 6-2, but he was hardly in the game at all. He did put 1 decent ball in, which led to Cavani winning the penalty, but overall he was just far too quiet and didn't get too many. Well, he didn't get involved a lot and did quite a few things wrong when he did. Bruno Fernandes, back to his best, they've said, finished fabulously to put United ahead. And teamed up Edison, Cavani, cannily, they've said. Scored a penalty and crossed for Paul Pogba. So I'll take that a step further. They've given him a 9. I always say that to get a 9 off me, you've got to be absolutely outstanding. 9 is outstanding on the Richter scale, as somebody's asked me to call it, the Richter scale. 9 is outstanding. And Bruno, in this game, I said this on a show that I did on Friday morning before the boycott came into action Friday evening. Bruno scored twice, he got 2 assists, and he was also involved in the build-up for both the other 2 goals. So I always say it doesn't matter who scores, it doesn't matter who assists, but it's also no harm looking back on a game and saying that was great. Look, if you score once, maybe even twice, or if you score one and make one, I'm not going to say that necessarily gives you a man of the match award, or necessarily you could even score one goal or score one and make one and not play particularly well. But I think it'd be a bit churlish to say that someone's not had an outstanding game when he's scored 2, made 2, and been involved in 2 more in a 6-2 win. So I don't mind that on this occasion. It's a rare occasion it's a very rare occasion that I give a 9, and I'm actually going to give 2 people a 9. Excuse me. So Bruno, they've given him a 9, and I don't mind him getting a 9. I'm going to do Edison Cavani next. Pogba's next on the list, but I'm going to speak about Cavani next just because he's also getting a 9. They've set up Fernandes with a perfect pass, but squandered a 1-on-1 and too greedy with the rebound, they've said. Atoned with an excellent equaliser. It was a fantastic goal, his equaliser. And also put United ahead. They've given him a 9. I'm also giving Cavani a 9. I think when you centre forward scores twice, one of them an absolute beauty as well. He scored twice. He got 2 assists. He made the goal. They've not even listed them all. He got 2 assists. He made Bruno's goal with a lovely layoff. Then he made Greenwood's goal with a fantastic outside of the boot crossfield pass. And he also won the penalty at the near post. So out of 6 goals, I think when your centre forward's got 2 goals, 2 assists, and won a penalty, I think a 9 out of 10 is perfectly fair. And I thought Paul Pogba had a really good game as well. It just got a 1 goal, but they've put influential for the opener, but continues to be a danger to his own side, inside his own half. Recovered to dominate the game and scored. They've given him an 8. I'll settle for the 8 for Paul. Maybe just not quite as strong a game as Cavani or Bruno, but he was really, really dangerous. And I do believe, by the way, this is a funny one when I've given Bruno a better mark. I do believe Bruno plays better when Pogba plays. I think Pogba is keeping the game more simple, and I believe it affects the way other players play. I always say it's an infectious game, football, and I think Bruno actually plays better when Paul plays. So maybe I might be being a bit unfair, but I'll stick with it. I've given Paul an 8, I've given Bruno a 9, and I've given Edison Cavani a 9. I don't mark the substitutes unless they get half a game, and nobody got anything like half a game. The second leg's coming up. It's Tuesday early evening now. The second leg's coming up Thursday. There should be quite a few changes. We are 4 goals up. I know they always say you can't take anything for granted. Roma are not playing well. They've got a few injury problems. Surely we're not going to get beat by Roma by 4-0 or more, no matter which lineup we choose. So there will be a few changes, I'm sure. I'll be back with a show tomorrow afternoon. I'll have a stab at what I think the lineup will be. I might have an idea tomorrow afternoon. There might be a press conference tomorrow. Let's see if there is one. It might not be till the evening, though. That's sometimes the case with these Europa League games. But at some stage tomorrow, I will be back with a little bit of a stab at what the lineup will be. I'll also talk about City's game tonight against PSG. See how that goes. See if PSG can give them a run for the money when they're already 2-1 down. So I hope you've enjoyed that show. If you've enjoyed that show, please subscribe. Please tell all your friends. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.